Out of you, soldiers. Business. This video is sponsored by Parade, but you'll hear a little bit about them later. Don't you love my new little mic holder? My girlfriend got me a whole bunch of like little mini swords and other little mini axes and weapons, and I think they're meant as like hair pins, but we love a multifunctional, multi-purpose item in this household. Girls with swords? Hot. Girls who give you swords? Hotter. Also, please pay no attention to this brown box in the background. I got a new dishwasher delivered, but it has yet to be installed. Truly, the luxury of adult life is just being able to buy yourself a new dishwasher. Now, I hope it's not alienating or controversial to say, but readers don't know what tropes are anymore. And honestly, neither do I. You may have seen it, but a couple of weeks ago, I did a video on the entitlement of the book community, and I had this little rant in there about tropes. And a lot of people really loved it. And I started thinking about it, you know, at 1 a.m., as I tend to do. And now this video exists. So grab a drink, grab a snack, settle in, bring out those freshly purchased notebooks because school is in session. We are going to be getting into the nitty-gritty of tropes, and something else we're going to be getting into the nitty-gritty of is underwear, because that's right, baby. This video is sponsored by Parade. We're gonna let sponsor Rachel tell you a little bit more about that. Thank you to Parade for sponsoring this video. Parade is a woman-owned underwear and lingerie brand that prioritizes sustainability and will never compromise comfort for style. Little TMI, but I have put off buying new underwear and bras for maybe a little too long. So thank God that Parade swept in and rescued me. These are the softest, most comfortable underthings that I have ever worn. It's like if underwear was pajamas, but also they make you look amazing. They carry sizes extra small to 5XL with gender-inclusive styles and bra cups up to size G. Made with rescued and recycled materials, their collections are light, flexible, and most importantly, fun to wear. I'm currently wearing their Replay Scoop Bralette in the color 8 Ball. I absolutely love that their black color is called 8 Ball. The Replay fabric is buttery smooth, it's super stretchy, and it's kind of cool to the touch. So whenever I'm wearing this bralette, I feel like I'm in sport mode. But my new favorite fabric from them is the silky mesh. Just cue angels singing. It's a sheer lingerie fabric that's super breathable, and you know how often I talk about being sweaty. I got the silky mesh flutter longline bralette in 8 Ball from the self-portrait collection. The little rosettes on it are so precious. And I also got the silky mesh sheer sculpt pop cutout triangle bralette in the color Supernova, which looks like I'm wearing a stained glass window. And to heap more praise on it, I also got the silky mesh mid-rise thong in 8 Ball and the silky mesh high cut thong in Peach Fuzz. As a model and a burlesque dancer, let me tell you, I have worn a lot of thongs in my day, and these are hands down the best. I'm never going back. I'm beyond happy with everything that I got. My weight's been fluctuating recently and I'm still trying to figure out new sizes, but the fact that all of these are so stretchy and adaptable, I feel like these are products that I'm gonna have for a really long time. If you want to shop for your new favorite under things, you can go to the link in my description box and use code MODEL40 to get 40% off the entire website. That's right, I got you guys a killer discount. Parade does fairly regular drops and their collections tend to sell out fast, so make sure to get your eyes on your items today. Thanks again to Parade, and without further ado, let us get back to dissecting tropes. Welcome back. Ooh, I bet after all of that you're wondering what I have going on under there. Is it pretty in pink or all see-through? Is it showing off my brand new lower back tattoo? Please don't take that seriously, that's a Charlie XCX song. So I suppose to begin, we should go back to the beginning. And I hope I'm not being too overly repetitive. I know that I say a lot of the same things sometimes, but we're gonna try and make this, new and exciting. So, readers don't know how tropes work. With the trope-ifying of books, you're breaking down the story into its base elements, and in doing so, you're basically stripping away everything that makes the story worthwhile. People are equating tropes with scenes, and once again, words mean things! A trope is an umbrella term, it is a large, reoccurring theme, whereas the scenes that people are talking about are things that could occur within the book that are maybe more likely to pop up in certain genres than others, but they are not indicative of a book genre, nor are they required. So like knife to the throat is not a trope, it's a scene. I guess technically that would count under the trope of enemies to lovers. Actually, you know what? Let's use the knife to the throat scene in this example, and like, it's a beloved scene. I love a knife to the throat scene. But people like this scene, not because they love the idea of someone like being in close proximity to a sharp, pointy object, but they like the underlying reasons why those characters are in that situation. Because a knife to the throat scene is indicative of tension, power dynamics, and high stakes, because you have two established characters who hate one another, which means that you need personal backstories for each of them and a reason for both of them to be in that situation, which usually means further world building. Then you have to have some kind of political system that establishes high stakes, high enough that the two of them are at each other's throats. But you also need to have chemistry, which means that there's some kind of reason why they need to be in forced proximity. And this is why we love a scene like that, because the knife to the throat scene is indicative of a much bigger soup. And in this way, I can understand that if a writer just writes a knife to the throat scene into their book because they want to hit some SEO goals, and they're not doing the proper setup, the foundation, to make that scene worth it in the rest of the story or fit in with the rest of the plot line, a reader is going to be upset because they're like, well, I came here for the knife to the throat moment, but none of the extra stuff came with it, and so maybe then they'll leave a negative review. And those are my new and not recycled thoughts. Hey, it's a good clip. Reduce, reuse, recycle. We love a multi-purpose object. As an English major, the first rule of writing a good essay is to go to the source, which for me was Mrs. Dr. Merriam-Webster. A trope is a common theme, motif, or device. Thank you, Miss Ma'am. But RivalDictionary.com says that it is a convention or device that establishes a predictable or stereotypical representation of a character, setting, or scenario in a creative work. When you're writing a book, tropes are something that you can use to quickly build up a story, because you know that based on what trope that you pick, you already have a set of guidelines and expectations that can be used in any genre. So we're talking like fake dating, enemies to lovers, grumpy sunshine duos, whereas scenes, and I'm going to quote RivalDictionary.com, are an episode, situation, or an act in a single setting. Some beloved scenes that are also some of my favorites are like the meet cute, or the villain and the hero having an epic final battle, or if you have characters going undercover at like a ball or a masquerade. Oh, I live for that shit. It's the scenes where you get to really shine as an author, make stuff fresh and funky and new. If your genre is horror and your trope is haunted house, is your monster going to be a monster or a demon? Is the scary place in the house going to be the basement or the attic? Scenes are universal, but some of them tend to show up in certain media more than others. For example, you can have two characters getting drunk around a campfire and spilling their secrets, and you can have that in a contemporary rom-com, or you can have that in a high fantasy. The pull of the book depends on the reader. Some people like tropes, and some people are more drawn to scenes. Some plot beats speak to readers more on a macro level, and some of them more on a micro level. Readers will find something they like, and then really like it. And we want to find stuff that gives us the exact same feeling as the thing that we like. Because I totally don't have 8 almost identical black summer dresses sitting in my wardrobe right now. Shut up, they're all different. But it can be difficult to find the similar trope that you like when you're removing all the context or you're transporting that trope into a different genre. For a long time, I thought that I didn't like contemporary books or romances because the tropes I tend to gravitate towards, in my mind, don't translate as well in realistic settings, like enemies to lovers or like mafia romance. Like, I love a morally gray crime boss in a fantasy book, Six of Crows, but I cannot read a mafia romance that's a contemporary Boston and like get the same feeling out of it. Because with this new like trope-ification of the way that we market books nowadays, scenes and tropes are kind of getting mishmashed together, and now nobody knows what anything is. Just like enemies to lovers is not yelling and then kissing and then yelling and then kissing. Knife to the throat is not just about being in proximity to sharp pointy objects. But I also can't blame authors for writing tropes or writing scenes because, you know, hey, they want to make money. That's what writers do. If a trope is really trending in the market, sometimes even if you don't write it into your book originally, your editor or your manager might ask you to rewrite your book with that trope in it. Like, do you remember how in the early 2010s, like every YA book had a love triangle? Love triangles are what sold, so every book had to have a love triangle, whether you liked it or not. Which is not only annoying to the author who feels like they're constantly trying to catch up with what's popular now, or maybe they feel like they're ruining the integrity of the story that they originally told because now their agent wants them to put in enemies to lovers when they really only wanted it to be friends to lovers. And then readers are going into these books thinking, oh, this is going to be similar to a thing I like, but then the author hasn't done the proper research or hasn't planted the proper payoff. By tropifying your book, you're either removing context from the actual trope, or you're trying to find a trope that fits most closely with your book so you can make one of these little graphics. So you're like, these two characters don't really like each other for 2 chapters. I guess I'll put enemies to lovers. and then people will be disappointed in it. And I wonder if this new marketing tool like is the, TikTokification of marketing. And like, I don't mean to bring everything back to TikTok, but goddamn, it does give me a lot of talking and thinking material. The rise of cores has definitely influenced other types of media, and I think there's also a lot of crossover with the book community. So like, cottagecore and cozy fantasy, and plenty of people pull inspiration from these types of aesthetic fashion videos, like dressing myself like a sun goddess. Like, tell me that you're not like, I gotta make a character that looks like that. For any creative, I'm going to speak for all of us, I hope that's okay. Sometimes it's hard to translate the thoughts, the feelings, the vibes that are in your head into words, particularly when you think in aesthetics. That's why authors love Pinterest mood boards so much, because you can visualize the thing in your head and kind of get it all out in one place. Or those really popular book aesthetic videos on TikTok where it's like, if you like this aesthetic, you'll love this book. And it's one of the things that it flips through like 1,000 photos in 15 seconds. And then the music is some kind of like epic violin cover of a pop song. And don't get me wrong, those videos are fire. Okay, I love that shit. But that is why some of my favorite books are The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, or Juniper and Thorn by Ava Reed, or The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater, because those were people that put into words feelings that I had that I didn't even know that there were words to. And everyone's way that they engage with media is different, particularly when it comes to authors. Like, a lot of times they will not have words in front of them. They'll have an idea. They'll have a picture in their head. Sometimes you want your characters to have the same dynamic as, these two characters in this sitcom, or you really want to embody the aesthetic of your favorite video game. But sometimes it's really hard to put your finger on why you like that thing. Like, you can say, oh, I love these characters' flirty banter, but picking that apart is really hard, because what makes their flirty banter better than those other people's flirty banter? And even if I say these two books have the same flirty banter dynamics, obviously the writer has their own experiences and their own take on it, so they're going to be completely different books. And that can get annoying and confusing and frustrating when all these books are being labeled as enemies to lovers, but they're all so different that you're like, well, this is supposed to be what I want, but it's not, and I can't tell why. It's almost like shades of things. Like, I love the color green, but there are some shades of green that I like more than others. And I wonder if that's why tropes and scenes are getting just mishmashed all together, because people know that they like something, but they don't know what the subtleties or aspects of that thing is what they really like. And regardless if you know those intricate subtleties, or you just know generally why you like something, I wonder if that's why people are so attached to the little infographics, because if someone sees that, oh, knife to the throat is in there, you jump on it because you know that thing has been guaranteed for you. And now you're just hoping that the author writes it in a way that you like. Which leads me into how book talk has just become commodification central when we're talking about little infographics or TikTok lists or even description boxes or what have you. In book marketing, we're trying to clearly, easily, quickly communicate what someone expects going into it, where usually the conversation on consumerism is about physical copies. How many books do you have? How many do you buy? How much money do you spend? That kind of thing. But tropes and scenes and aesthetics are also kind of becoming commodified, because you're taking something out of context from a much larger story and you're boiling it down to one thing, and then that thing almost becomes like the physical object that you want to have. I've used this example before and I'll probably use it again. Let's talk about special editions. Foiled, and they have sprayed edges and end papers and ooh, shiny, sparkly, pretty thing that I want to own. Why do you need 17 versions of the same book? You don't. It's the exact same story on the inside. Nothing has changed except now this cover is red and now it's blue. At what point does the book turn from an amalgamation of someone's labor and storytelling ability and into a simple object for you to consume where the story no longer matters? So like, if you really love the knife under the throat scene and you only look for, purchase, read, advertise books that have this particular scene in it, at what point does the book turn from story that includes this thing into only this thing of the story is important? Once again, words mean things. Context is important. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree and suddenly you love the found family trope? No, it's because you have trauma. No, I'm kidding. But like, no. And you know what? Writing's hard. Sometimes tropes are hard. Everyone wants to make something new and fresh and subvert a trope and put a new spin on it. And since readers are constantly looking for things that remind them of things that they like, searching for a new high all the time, we will continue to seek out those new excitements. And yet at the same time, new can't compete with old. We return to the same tropes over and over again because they give us a sense of comfort and connection. Reading is escapism. We want to hear stories about clashing dragons and syrupy meet cutes and chosen ones, saving the world, because we want to see how different people react in similar plots and how they deal with their emotions so that maybe we can find somebody that we more closely relate to. Because even as much as we want it to, life itself does not slot us into tropes. But maybe if I read 6 highly political fantasy books about secret princesses, when my enemies to lovers only one bed undercover at a masquerade moment comes, I'll finally know what to do. And that's that on that. You can tell me if staying up late to write scripts is a good idea or not. Tropes and scenes are neutral things. They're there to act as building blocks and as guidelines and as a way to connect. And just like how you don't have to identify with one aesthetic or you can't like multiple shades of green, you don't have to stick with one particular trope or genre. And like personal preferences aside, try something else out. You never know what you're going to be missing. Maybe you read a book that had a trope you didn't like, but have you considered that another author is going to do that trope probably pretty different, and maybe you'll like that one. Video that you can go check out. I don't know, go out there and like stuff, right? Engage with the media that you consume. Go try out something new every once in a while. Critique stuff that you like. Go ask deep dive questions as to why you like certain stuff. Thank you again to Parade for sponsoring this video. Truly a dream to work with them. I absolutely adore their stuff. And you can use my code down below, model40, to get 40% off the entire website. So, treat yourself to something nice. As always, this is a forum of open discussion, so please leave down below your thoughts on the trope-ification of books. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you think it's great? Do you get really frustrated by it? If there's any authors in the audience, I would love to hear from you guys, how you plan your tropes, what type of things that you lean into versus what kind of things that are expected of you in the market. Why is there a rubber duck sound outside my apartment? It's time for the children to come home from daycare. I'm filming this on my very late work from home lunch break, so it is in fact mid-afternoon. I'm gonna go check my Teams notifications and turn my air conditioning unit back on, and also probably go eat some watermelon because I was deceived. Okay, watermelon is a tricky fruit because I've only had watermelon in family settings. It's always been at like picnics or birthdays or family reunions. So the other day when Walmart had watermelons for $4 a piece, I was like, oh my god, I gotta get me a watermelon. Haven't had that in so long. I'm gonna eat it in like a day or two. No. This itty bitty watermelon, I've chopped so much of it, I just have containers of Tupperware stacked in my fridge. My fridge is 90% watermelon right now, by volume and weight. Okay, I think that's enough weird rants for one afternoon. You know where to click to like the video, you know where to click to subscribe. I hope you guys are all having a nice day wherever you are, and I will see you all next week. Bye!